Hello everybody, this is Jason Anderson with Tag Realty Advisors, and I wanted to do a video blog today not just about the home sales report or the Dallas home buyer report, but more so on what has really, I feel, going to create a big boom in people buying houses moving off the market, and that is the first time home buyer tax credit. Now we've actually created a whole website just based on this information, and you can get that information online at dallastaxcredit.com. Now of course I have to give note here and credit to the National Association of Home Builders. That's where I've actually downloaded and printed all this information from, and most of the information provided on dallastaxcredit.com, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen. That's where all this information came from. Now there's been a lot of confusion because last year the government passed a $7,500 repayable tax credit, which was pretty much an interest-free loan. That was available up until January 1st of this year, which means people who bought homes last year got a $7,500 tax credit, but they have to pay it back over the next 15 years. The biggest difference with this first-time homebuyer tax credit is that it does not have to be repaid. Believe it or not, this is actually an $8,000 tax credit. This isn't a tax rebate, this is the dollar-for-dollar credit. So if at the end of the year, if you owe $1,000 and you buy a home, you're actually going to get $7,000 back. If at the end of the year you're going to get $2,000 back, instead of $2,000, now you're going to get $10,000 back. So this is a tax credit for first-time home buyers only. Now, they've also defined what a first-time home buyer is. That is a person who has not owned a home in the last 3 years. So that means if you've owned any type of property in the last 3 years, you do not qualify. Now this applies for both you and your spouse. So if you or your husband or you and your wife, either one of you, if you've owned a property in the last 3 years, then you do not qualify for this. But anybody else that does not, has never owned a property, has been a renter all your life, or has no stake in any property in the last 3 years, you'll qualify for this. Now another thing is, the tax credit does not have to be repaid. I can't stress that enough. This is a free $8,000 tax credit. What that means basically is you can go out and buy a $250,000 home. Let's do the math. If you were to buy a $250,000 loan, current FHA guidelines says you have to put 3.5% down. That's $87.50 you'd have to put as a down payment minimum. At the end of the year, when you file your taxes, or next year, or you could possibly even do an amendment, you have to get with your tax consultant, you're going to get $8,000 back. So now that reduces your down payment to only $750 on that home, on a $250,000 house. Now, the tax credit is only equal to 10% of the home's purchase price up to a maximum of $8,000. So if you buy a home under $80,000, you could get less. If you buy a $75,000 home, you're only going to get $7,500. If you buy a $60,000 home, you're only going to get $6,000, which I still feel is more than fair. But once you get above $80,000, you're going to max out at $8,000. You can't get more than $8,000 back. Now, this is not going to be available forever. It's only available from January 1st up until December 1st of 2009. So you must actually close on your home and take possession of that property before December 1st of this year. So we only have, it's already March, we only have less than 9 months to actually take advantage of this. So one last thing I have to point out is that there is an income qualification. Now the income qualifications for the tax credit is that you have to make less than $75,000 if you're filing singly on your taxes, or you have to make less than $150,000 filing as a couple. Now I'm going to say this is going to apply to probably 90 to 95% of every person, every household in the area, country, state of Texas. So if you make more than that, then honestly you probably don't need the tax credit. But if you make less than that, then this is going to be a great thing for you. So to kind of quickly go back over some of the highlights of this program. First thing is, it's an $8,000 free tax credit. It does not have to be repaid. That's number one. Again, no repayment, no payback over 15 years or anything of those terms. Also, it's only up to 10% or max of $8,000. So if you buy a home that's less than $80,000, you could get less than $8,000 in tax credit. Again, if you buy a $60,000 home, you're still going to get $6,000, which means the government's actually paying you to buy that house. For example, a $60,000 loan times 3.5%, you're only putting $2,100 down. You're going to get $6,000 back. You're making $3,900 on buying your house. So that's another thing. Also, a first-time home buyer is only considered a person that has not owned a home in the last 3 years. That includes you and your spouse. Finally, is that you cannot make more than $75,000 if you're single. You cannot make more than $150,000 if you're married. So there you go. You can get all that information and more on DallasTaxCredit.com. You'll see it at the bottom of the screen. Or please feel free to give one of our consultants a call. The number is 214-556-3372. One of our representatives will get with you and help you. We can get you with a mortgage counselor and hopefully get you into a home in 2009. Thanks.